What is up, sports fans? This is the Who Are They podcast. I am, of course, am the man, D2 Nice 86, and I am joined with none other than
We got Tiggy Maximus here in the studio.
in the studio. We come to talk about one thing only, at least today, and that is UFC 307, and they're fighting out of Utah, But let's start. Let's just jump right in. You got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and he's going against Joaquin Buckley.
Well, for one, this is a very random place to fight in, but we got ourselves a Utah pay-per-view. And these two fighters, we've seen them quite a few times over the years. We've seen something special about Wonderboy because he actually made like karate like a very viable fight style from the first few fights we've seen him in, and he surprised certain guys, and he's had wars with what was it, Johnny Hendricks. He's had wars with Tyrone Woodley, and sometimes it gets pretty exciting. And then, you know, as the years go by, and then we kind of notice that Wonder Boy's kind of slid just a little bit in the welterweight division,
Hmm.
and then with Joaquin Buckley. I still remember his, what was it, heel kick, jumping heel kick that he knocked out that one fighter, Al Rasman or something, the
Spinning
fact that he,
back one-legged hill kick was
and the fact that
phenomenal.
he did that and like the guy just wobbled, and it finally came to and collapsed to their mat, and that was the end of the fight. And like no other fight ever ends like that, and that was just amazing to watch. And now these two have been paired up, and this should be an exciting fight. I'm pretty sure there might be more of a feel it out process, probably in the first few minutes, but
Hmm.
I got a feeling that uh, Wonder Boy might actually eke out a decision in this one.
Stephen Thompson was this karate wonder, right? And he had some, if you go back and you look at some of his early karate fights, there were some things that he did. I mean, he definitely punished some guys, and he did very well. Mixed martial arts hasn't typically been his greatest cup of tea. Like you said, he's had some
Yeah,
wars, he's had some great fights, but he's struggled.
yeah,
And I think he's struggled, and then he gets into these conversations of, let's keep it standing, let's not go. But this is mixed martial arts, and just like when people who are fans talk about like, oh, like I don't like the wrestling, then watch boxing. Oh, I don't like the wrestling. Then watch Muay Thai. I don't like the wrestling. Then there are other combat sports to watch other than,
yeah,
but you're going to mixed martial arts to then complain that mixed martial arts are happening. And that I don't
yeah.
always understand. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic stand-up artist. He is excellent at karate, but still at the end of the day, this is your job. This is what you've signed up for. This is what you are getting paid for. And, I all I say is this: if you're winning in the karate style, fantastic, but no complaints. No complaints at the end of the day when, if you're not winning your matches, because you want to stick to one style. That's not what MMA is about.
Not at
Now
all.
going to Buckley real quick. I mean, highlight reel knockout. With that spinning a back heel kick.
Yeah,
But again, in 1906, decent record.
very decent.
Only two more wins than Stephen Thompson, but
Yeah,
really the question is a 30-year-old going up against a 41-year-old Stephen Thompson. Does
41, damn.
the young yeah, exactly, does the young cub manage a much better fight against the old lion? What do you think?
You do have two vastly different fight styles. Um, it's interesting because you'll notice that Stephen Thompson probably be more catered to like the counter strikes, especially that usually comes with karate. And I think there's only one other fighter who's ever done karate in the UFC, and that was Lyoto Machida, if I remember correctly. But
Yeah, that's
given
correct.
that it takes a certain skill and a certain like level from a certain fighter where you can really utilize this and get it to a point where this could match up with some of the best. But I mean, you've seen Thompson, you've seen Machida, they've been using this as their main strength, and it fits with certain other fighters in the octagon, but sometimes when you put in a wrestler in there, it kind of it might make for a very boring fight.
Mm.
But I feel like this one with Thompson in the way that he kind of does this type of karate, and when you put him in the same octagon with Joaquin Buckley, and yeah, you might notice that Joaquin Buckley will have to kind of figure out how to kind of mitigate this whole karate style so that he can implement his own fight strengths in this fight. But I got a feeling that this is going to go a little bit back and forth, and you're going to probably see a decision out of this.
So I say this. I don't see this being very much a back and forth. And the reason why is because, and again, the question is who implements their game?
Yeah.
Joaquin Buckley is a very powerful guy. And the way that I see it when I'm thinking this fight through, um, Buckley sometimes has very weird game plans, but I still feel like the power and the speed, the agility that he does possess, I think wins out this fight.
Mm.
So you're going with decision. Decision who? Real quick, who wins that
Wonder
fight?
Boy split decision.
Wonder Boy split decision. Um, I have to go TKO Joaquin Buckley.
Ooh.
Um, all right, so the next fight comes up in the middleweight division. You have the trailblazing Kevin Holland going up against Roman Dolidze. Listen,
Mm.
13-3 Roman, I think, is going to give Kevin Holland a hell of a run for his money. And, it's always really interesting to see Kevin Holland, who has like, a very slick and smooth demeanor when it comes to, it's almost like nothing really bothers him. When you have power like he has and you're able to knock out people, in almost a seated position, I'm sure a lot doesn't worry you, and he's got a chin. But Roman is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's definitely got a very nice record, and I think that he's going to give him problems. What do you think about Roman going up against Kevin?
I do like this fight actually. It does pique my interest, and um, you're gonna see probably gonna see some interesting trash talk coming from Holland during this fight. Roman, I've been kind of a fan of Roman's. Um, he does have some great grappling and does have some knockout power. And Holland, I figured that if this gonna stay standing for a good portion of this fight, you probably will see that Kevin Holland will probably get the upper hand, and that might get him to a decision victory in this one because I think this one will actually go the distance as well. But I think that Holland is going to end up getting a lot of his volume off of his feet, and Roman, I think he's going to try to do more takedowns. And I think at this point that Kevin Holland has kind of been learning just a little more how to defend takedowns, and you've seen him improve little bit by little bit from each fight. Kevin Holland by unanimous decision.
Kevin Holland, unanimous decision. I mean, it really. So here's the thing. So that record of 26-11 and 13-3 is, I feel like, a little misleading. Split decision, Kevin Holland. He really needs a win to get back into that win column after fighting Michael Venom Page. I do also find it very interesting, and a good note is that he is also fighting on the same card that that Wonder Boy Thompson is also fighting on. So speaking of making deals to not shoot for takedowns, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, in the spirit of the Who Are They podcast, Tony, I will second that notion. I think that this could be a fight where Kevin Holland gets back in the win column. I think it will be a tough battle, and split decision definitely sounds like a viable idea when we think about him going up against Roman. So let's go with split decision both ways here.
Unanimous.
And
I want to say unanimous.
unanimous. Didn't you say
Yeah.
split before?
Only for the Joaquin Buckley Winter Boy one.
Okay, all right, okay. I must have misheard you. Unanimous decision. All right. Well, I'm with you either way, my friend. Stop the presses. Hold your horses, because Tiggy Max's favorite person in the world, other than Hamzat Chimaev and Alex Pereira, is fighting on this card. I mean, literally, Kayla Harrison is all you probably talked about whenever we would bring up the fateful name of Amanda Nunes, and she's fighting Ketlin Vieira. So, what do you think about this women's bantamweight division fight?
They did great marketing for this particular card, especially they decided to put Kayla Harrison on the same main card as Juliana Pena. Uh, but this could be a very interesting fight because I've been kind of a fan of Vieira, and she has been kind of hanging in the top, what was it, the top five of the women's division. And now that Kayla Harrison now has her second fight, and she is, basically having high expectations, being a great signing for the UFC, and then she's trying to make her way up to the championship of the bantamweight division. And you might see a little bit of trouble in this fight for Kayla Harrison. Like
Wow.
you'll notice that she's gonna try to figure out how she wants to approach this fight with Kaylin Vera, because one, if she wants to do it off the ground or if she wants to keep this standing.
Hold on. I got a question for you. So, you know, this is someone. Kayla Harrison is someone you absolutely love and adore. And you're saying that, oh, I'm thinking she might try, the grappling and jujitsu of Ketlin. But this is someone who you repeatedly said is just unstoppable on the ground. So what would be her her worry? What would be something that makes her doubt the ground game? Is Ketlin just that good?
I would say that she could probably not make this easy on the ground for Kayla Harrison. I think this might take a little bit of time for Kayla Harrison to kind of get to an opening that will lead her to getting an advantage in this fight and to end up winning the fight. But I don't think this is going to be like an easy fight for Kayla Harrison, though. But I do feel that
Mm.
she is going to win this fight. I got Kayla Harrison by TKO.
TKO Kayla Harrison.
Third
It's
round.
hard to fight
Third
you.
round.
It's hard to fight you
Third round.
with a person who is 17-1. She has definitely been a powerhouse. We definitely eventually want to see an Amanda Nunes fight, but that's neither here nor there, because that's not who she's fighting come Saturday night. Listen, Ketlin is a tough competitor. Her
Very tough.
striking is something that is exciting to me. Her grappling, probably even more so. Uh, it's this one's tough, and I think I'm just gonna go out on a limb here. I know how I felt when I said that Kayla would not beat Holly Holm. And I think that Holly Holm was doing phenomenal for most of that fight. But in the end, it still was a Kayla Harrison night.
Oh yeah.
So I know that I'm putting myself on one of the loneliest branches here, but I'm still going to go with Ketlin. I think that she has something to prove. And I think if you're going to make a statement, this is the time. It doesn't mean that she will, but I'm putting my chips in that corner. I got Ketlin. I got a decision win on behalf
Ooh.
of Caitlin Vieira. Out of all fighters to still be fighting on UFC pay per view cards, you have Jose Aldo, and he is going up against Mario Batista in a bantamweight division. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead on this because there is a I think there's a prestige here that needs to be noted when you're talking about a guy like Jose Aldo. And something that I think is important is the leg kicks that Aldo used to put on opponents were just one of the most beautiful things I think you could ever witness in life. And I know that I don't think that we're ever going to get back there. Jose Aldo has been very boxing heavy for a long time.
Oh yeah.
He went from a guy who would throw leg kicks that would level opponents, literally knock them off their feet. It is one of the biggest pieces of arsenal he's ever had in his tool bag, and he doesn't use it like he used to. And I think that has been one of his largest downfalls. When we look at him going back to the very charged fight where he fought none other than the notorious Conor McGregor,
Ooh.
there was a lot of buildup there, and you could see where not being planted, not going to his basics, right? Up to that point, that man was the champion. And not only was he the champion, he was dominant. But here's my thing. I think that if he would have been in a more planted stance and he would have stuck to the guns that got him to the dance, that made him who he was, I'm not saying that Conor wouldn't have won that fight, but I think that would have been a more competitive fight, first of all. Um, and I just don't know if Conor would have been able to withstand those leg kicks and not at that weight class. And here's the thing. What got him off his game was Conor doing what the Notorious does and being a guy who can get in your head. And this is something that I think that is not talked about enough. And I think a lot of guys try it, but there is almost no one who's ever been as good as Conor McGregor at being able to talk an opponent out of their game plan, out of their mindset, and then put them in a frantic state and cause them to, he's done it time after time with some of the highest level fighters on the map. Now, Mario Batista, 14-2, great fighter. This guy is I'm pretty sure the younger of the two here. I'm not seeing the age for him, but I will say
31,
this:
31 versus 38.
31, 38. It's tough. The question is, I mean, hey, listen, Jose's coming off of a win. Can he still kick it with the Young Bucks? This will remain to be seen, but I'm going to go with Jose Aldo for the win. And I understand that this is just, this is the heart bleeding out because in my book, he is one of the greatest to ever ever tape up a pair of MMA gloves. What say you, Tiggy Max?
Well, Utah's in for a treat to get to see a legend in the flesh at a pay-per-view event. And it's funny. I actually had a neighbor by the name Mario Batista, actually. Um, but this should be a very interesting fight. I do see fireworks in this one. Um, I will say that Jose will probably have a little mixture of boxing and a little bit of kicking in this one, and um, I don't feel that it's going to go to the ground too much in this one, but we're going to see a strike fest in this fight. And, you know, as much as we talked about Jose Aldo over the years and we watched him have great fights and everything, and the fact that Proper 12 might not have existed had Connor not gotten that left cross in while Jose was coming in. But I gotta say, I'm gonna pick Mario Bautista in this one. I think his striking is gonna be a little too much for Jose Aldo, and I think I'm looking at a TKO victory for Mario Baptista. I'm probably thinking it's gonna happen late second round.
Well, as much as you're going against one of my favorite fighters to ever do it, uh, I won't blame you. Again, I want to continue to see Jose Aldo do fabulous and amazing works inside the UFC octagon. But sometime, at some point, for all of us, father time, grandfather time comes for us all. So let's hope it's not for UFC 307. Now, something that is not breaking news, okay, is Raquel Pennington, the UFC's bantamweight champion, going up against Juliana Pena. She is the contender. She is the former champion. The young lady who was able to wrap an arm around Amanda Nunes and get the choke, tap her out. Um, it, it was one heck of a night. Let's just say dismay was probably only one of the words I was feeling on that night because I absolutely did not expect it. But I will say that the second fight was exactly what I expected to happen the first
Yeah,
go around, right? What do you think about this fight?
I like this fight. Um, I like that this is probably going to be more of a strike fest going back and forth between the two, but I got a feeling that Juliana Pena will have the more meaningful, impactful strikes in the stand-up game in this one, and it's going to start to wear down on Raquel Pennington. And I got a feeling that it won't go the entire 5 rounds. I do feel like this is going to have a finish, and I think Juliana Pena is going to win by TKO in this one with her um, more precise striking than Raquel Pennington.
Wow, that's an amazing prediction there. I mean, Raquel, who definitely has, more fights under her belt, versus Juliana. It's a almost Sean O'Malley esque in my eyes, especially after the loss, and just the things that she will say about being the champ, beating the champ, and then losing the belt. It's very much sometimes one of those things where you're just like, hey, you know what? Take this one on the chin, work on the things that need to be worked on, and move forward. Listen, will agree with you that I do believe that there's a little bit more pop in Juliana's step when she throws those strikes. Uh,
Yeah.
Raquel's fight to win the belt was a little lackluster to me, and I think it was really lackluster to most fans who really truly believe in mixed martial arts. Um, and so, what I'm hoping is that will turn around in this fight. It'll be a really weird way for Juliana to get back to the belt, and then the question will be who will be next. And the only reason why I bring that up is because is it Amanda? Does Amanda come back from retirement? But either way, I will say this. This has been a night. This will be a night of bantamweight fights. And if no matter who gets the belt here, I think that your friend, your bestie, Kayla Harrison is probably, if she wins this fight, is probably on the fast track to facing one of these ladies. So you've got Juliana Pena, TKO, correct?
TKO fourth round. Fourth round. Yeah. TKO, fourth round.
I'm going to go with Raquel Pennington. I think she finds a way to get it done against
Ooh,
Juliana.
very bold.
What way is that? Decision. I think.
Kayla is going to be watching this fight very closely, and somebody's going to be very close to Octagon side.
Now, if you are not excited for a Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus Alex Poetan, Hands of Stone Pereira, then you may not have a pulse. Listen, Tiggy Max, these are two guys who both possess the power to put people out of their misery. What do you see happening in this fight?
I do see a finish in the very near future, and this fight probably won't go too far. I'm probably thinking of Alex Pereira. He's going to be gunning down Roundtree in this one. Um, Honestly, I'm not sure how Roundtree got this title fight. I was kind of hoping someone else of notability would have taken this fight, but we got Roundtree and Pereira. And, yeah, Roundtree does have some power, and we've seen some great finishes coming from Roundtree. But I don't think there's any part of the fight game where I see he'll have an advantage over Alex Pereira. And the moment that Alex Pereira gets that either left cross or a head kick, and I know he's going to land one of those two on Roundtree, and that will be how the fight will end. And another great, exciting win for Alex Pereira. And who knows, he might do his whole two-handed gesture of this, this, and this. I've now become a fan of Alex Pereira's kickboxing and his left cross, and I between the two, I know he's going to land one of the two in this fight, and that left cross is just deadly because he got stone hands, much to match his stone face, and then you got that head kick, which has been well, it seems to have debilitated Jiri, um, and he never looked the same since that fight. And I'm pretty sure that between the two strikes that Alex has, he's going to land it on Khalil Roundtree, and I think it's going to happen early second round.
All
And
right.
he's going to send everybody home happy in Utah, of all places. And Alex Pereira is just trying to look for another guy. And I hope, he fights Ankalev after this.
Okay. Well, listen, I think that you and the rest of the MMA world need to put a little respect on Khalil Roundtree Jr.'s name. Now, listen,
Who?
do I think that
Who?
he is going to have a easy time in the octagon? No. Do I think that he is not going to have some strikes that come his way that may knock him off kilter? No. I definitely think that he is going to be in for the ride of his life. But I also think this. When you go and you look at his highlights and you look at his fights, he can take a punch and he can take a punch from big guys. Now, giving a punch, taking a punch, two different things. But when we're talking about the ability to strike well and put guys out, Khalil Roundtree has that ability. He just like our friend Alex Pereira is a guy who is not afraid to move forward, is not afraid to put faith in his power. And that is what, like you have already mentioned, is going to make this fight exciting because when you have guys who aren't afraid to move forward because they do have that faith in their power, it leaves guys open. Alex fights with his hands a bit lower than he did when he fought in kickboxing. And that opens him up for some of the weird and awkward strikes that Khalil has. Khalil has some very awkward striking. And sometimes he's throwing strikes from very odd and weird angles, and where he could be clipped very seriously by Alex is the fact that Alex usually does throw very tight punches. Okay. And so if Khalil gets a little reckless, which is he's known for doing, that can really be a quick night for him. Um, you've got Alex Pereira, and it's very hard to go against Alex Pereira because he is on a crazy streak, decently crazy streak in the light heavyweight division. Okay. He's beat former champions, and he is on his way to UFC superstardom. So the real question is, a guy who's 11-2 going up against a guy who's 14-5, who wins out? You know, the one thing I will mention before I give you my prediction is that this is another fight where a fighter has said, "Hey, let's do away with any kind of going for takedowns. Let's keep this on the feet. Let's keep this a striking." And of course, this was Alex Pereira. Now, again, this is their prerogative. If that's what Khalil Roundtree wants to do to try to win the belt, I think it's a fruitless effort. I think he needs to utilize whatever is in his arsenal if he's going for this belt. And he says that this is, a gift from God. So I would think that he's going to use whatever he has in his capability in order to get this belt. Now, you don't see him grapple all that often. You don't see him shoot for takedowns all that often. In this one here, I am going to go with Alex Pereira. It's a tough one. I think that we may.
Can't disagree.
Yeah, it's a tough one. These are two guys who both possess a lot of power. But hey, this is why we watch, and this is why you watch. We want to thank you for watching all the way through. Please leave your comments down below, like, and make sure that you subscribe because there's way more to talk about. I am D2 Nice. I'm joined by
Diggy Maximus, excited for the fights.
This is the Horde Podcast, and we are out.